Bitcoin has broken the weekly downtrend of the macro descending channel formation yet again. With 3 days remaining until the weekly candle close, will Bitcoin be able to sustain this breakout and continue higher, or are we going to see it tumble back down? Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having an amazing day today. In today's video, we are taking another deep dive into Bitcoin's recent price action, discussing the reclamation of the macro downtrend, the bounce from the critical daily high, the short-term price action, and the macro charts. We'll also be taking a look at Bitcoin dominance as that continues to soar toward the upside, as well as the total altcoin market cap. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You will get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop for cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us in VIP, where we post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to our group chats, our general chat, our trading chat and education chat, our trade setup chats, our daily video, our help, and our news chat. Check it out, guys. Nearly 700 members. Join up by clicking the pinned comment in the free channel by clicking my name or these links. Let's go ahead and dive on into the video. So over the past 24 hours, Bitcoin has seen a significant bounce toward the upside, being able to sustain above the prior daily high, flipping this area at 66,500 into a crucial daily level of support, which facilitated a continuation back into our weekly high range at 68.2 to 68.5. If we jump over to the Telegram very briefly, you can see we were discussing this level over the last 2 or 3 days, talking about how this level had to hold as a support if we wanted to see Bitcoin continue higher, and if we do drop below this level now of a support, we could see a continuation even lower. So over the past 24 hours, a solid bounce for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now pushing into that next level of resistance, that weekly high at 68.2 to 68.5, and we can currently see it is testing this region of resistance. We'll come back and discuss what is likely to occur next in the analysis today. Moving over to the market data, 24-hour volume has decreased 15% at 125 billion, and liquidations are down a massive 55% at 116 million. Of the 116 million in liquidations, 46 million coming from longs and 70 million coming from short positions. Moving back over to the market data, to the DXY, we can see the DXY wicked above this horizontal resistance. It is currently still sitting above that area at 104. Again, while the DXY sits above this region, we are in a little bit of a shaky territory for Bitcoin and for the stock market. Of course, if the DXY generally continues upwards, we do generally see on the bigger time frame, the risk asset markets kind of inversely follow suit. So if we do see the DXY move upwards here, there is a bit of a chance we might see some turbulence, some sideways price action, some chop develop for the S&P 500 and for Bitcoin over the next few weeks. However, if this current weekly candle is unable to sustain above this resistance, it is likely we see a correction all the way back to 100, and this move downwards will be exceptionally bullish for the S&P 500 and for Bitcoin, very likely facilitating the move to 6,000 and 72,000 respectively. Moving over to the S&P 500, we can see with 21 hours remaining on this weekly, it has managed over the past 24 hours to clamber itself up an additional $50, still sitting underneath the opening price of the prior weekly candle, signifying a possible bearish engulfing candle close is potential. However, if we are able to close above the opening price, it is very likely that this was just a healthy pullback before a continuation back into that 6,000 region. Even if we do see the market tumble a little bit, we do have a major weekly support at 5,700 to 5,680 again. Provided this region is able to hold, we are expecting continuations higher. Only if we drop below this area would we expect weekly continuations down to our yearly lows. And again, if we do see that occur, I would be assuming that is going to be the trigger for a macro downtrend, as we have invalidated a prior high. If we look at this continuation upwards, we have our high points over here, we have our high points over here, we have our high points. These are all weekly highs, right? Weekly highs, weekly highs. During this entire uptrend, upon breaking through these weekly highs, the worst we have seen is retests. We have retested these weekly highs. We have not seen the price action break below. So a break below and continuation below a weekly high would signify a change of character in the trend and likely result in a macro downtrend. Alternatively, or should I say, in addition to that, for this to occur, the DXY would have to continue. And if the S&P is going down that aggressively, it is likely Bitcoin does see a continuation back on down to 60. We'll come back and discuss that another time. That is it for the broader market updates, guys. We are talking about the macro charts. We are jumping into the weekly. We are jumping into the short-term ranges, Bitcoin dominance, and as we've said already, the total market cap for altcoins. Before we get into it, guys, if you want to support the channel, go ahead and sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX. The links to those exchanges are down below. Why should you sign up? It is very simple. You'll support me and support yourself and get a 15% trading fee discount for life, for absolute lifetime, while you're using those exchanges. You can sign up to any of those exchanges and you'll get that bonus. Go ahead and do so. We'll play an ad and we'll jump back in. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Okay, team, let's go ahead and get back into it. Before we do, I actually want some feedback from you guys. I want to ask you guys a question, and if you've got the time, go ahead and comment below or just skip this part. We do have our second YouTube channel, MegaWhale Alt. So we've had this for about a year now. We've made 9 videos. I do want some ideas of directions for this channel. I'm unsure whether I should continue to post on this channel every couple of months discussing Ethereum, discussing altcoins, or make it more of an altcoin channel, or just completely scrap it all together. I want to give you guys the opportunity to let me know what you think I should do with it again. It does take quite a bit of time to make videos on here, so I want to make them useful. I want to make sure people actually enjoy them and make sure they're actually, being viewed and not just random altcoin suggestions that only one person cares about. So if you've got any ideas, leave them down below and let's jump back into it. So jumping over to the Bitcoin charts, we are starting on the short-term charts today, and as we can see, Bitcoin is retesting our weekly high. So just to contextualize where this is on the weekly, if we go to that weekly chart very briefly, jump over here, we can see the horizontal resistance as per this gray box is going to be the weekly high of that prior high before we saw that breakout. So this is going to be our change of character. This is a break of structure over here of our macro downtrend. On the weekly, of course, Bitcoin is sustaining above the macro downtrend as well as a prior weekly high. So this area on the short term is an area of resistance currently, which we are retesting, as you can see here on the daily chart. So we'll come back to that in a second, but this is where we are seeing currently. So we know two things. We know, number one, we are in an uptrend currently, moving from our base of support, which was established at the daily high at 65.5, okay, which was represented by this horizontal gray box right over here, and we're moving into our weekly resistance right over here at 68.5 to 68.2. As we said in our prior video yesterday, we do have 68.2 as a trigger point, meaning a break of 68.2 will likely result in a continuation higher. We still do stand by that. However, the break of 68.2 has not been accomplished yet. We do need to sustain above this entire resistance range, as we can see, between 68.2 to 68.5, at least on the daily chart, to signify signify a breakout of this region, or at least increase the probability that the breakout will sustain and continue. And therefore, at the moment as we speak, Bitcoin is in fact in an area of resistance. This is a possible rejection point for Bitcoin before we see a continuation higher. So let's go ahead and break it down. Continuations upwards, Bitcoin is simply going to need to break over 68.5, and we are looking for a daily candle close above that region. Again, this is our daily and weekly resistance zone. If we close a daily above, as we did over here, we are expecting that next leg to take us potentially as high as 72,000. That is going to be that target for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is technically going to be expecting that continuation while the daily is able to hold this prior low point, which is now an area of support. So we have that 66.4 region. If we go back to the short term, the 66.4 is quite literally this low right over here. So provided this low is able to hold, Bitcoin is expected to continue eventually to 72,000. Whether that is a direct continuation or whether or not we see a short-term pullback first before a continuation upwards. So let's zoom in now to the shorter time frame charts and discuss, well, the possibilities of corrections and what are we looking for on the charts over here. So we'll go down to a very small time frame to a 5-minute chart. This is going to be the uptrend Bitcoin has been in right over here ever since the retest of that critical weekly high point at 65.4K. As we can see, a rebound over here. We've been on an uptrend ever since. In fact, Bitcoin has just retested that uptrend again as we speak. Now, this uptrend again is not only a representation of the trajectory of price action, meaning that provided the uptrend is able to hold, we will inevitably break through 68.5 and continue higher, but it also acts as an invalidation or a point of which the trend could potentially flip. So if we do see this trend break down, we are watching for lower levels of support for potential rebounding points. Specifically watching, if we zoom in over here really quickly, let's just go ahead and zoom the chart in. We are specifically watching for our points, very key points, our psychological levels first and foremost at 67,000, which is going to be this region right over here. There's 67,000 to 66,900 region. We are watching that first area of support. And if we zoom back out to the hourly, we are watching that POC level. Now, I wonder where that lines up with. It lines up just a little bit higher, so 67.3. These are going to be our two potential points where reversals could develop from. So if we do drop below this trend line, we are watching for the POC and we are watching for a move into this area of liquidity at 67,000. You can also note that below 66.9, which was the lower range, we can see that we lose this chunk of support from the VRPV, meaning that we do run the risk of further corrections into 66.3 if we do drop below 66.9. So worst case scenario for Bitcoin, we lose this trend line, we correct into the POC or as low as 66.9, we look for reversals and then continuations upwards. That is going to be worst case scenario. If somehow we see a correction that takes us underneath 66.4, that is when Bitcoin runs a massive risk of seeing steeper corrections into these prior levels of liquidity. Again, the key one being at around 63,000. We do have a horizontal at 64, which is unlikely to sustain if we do drop below. And of course, we do have one at around 60,000. Now, as we said in yesterday's video, Bitcoin can theoretically see a continuation as low as around $60,000. We'll go ahead and draw it in right over here, while still remaining technically bullish. And the reason being is because if we look at the price structure, Bitcoin has been creating very simply these lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows as the price action has been continuing. We've also been creating higher highs. So only upon the invalidation of the prior lower high, not the current, the prior lower high, would we expect this trajectory of the trend to continue back towards those prior lows. So these will become highs on the inverted chart that would be expecting the price to correct to, only upon the loss of 60,000. Now, if we look at the weekly charts, upon the loss of 60,000, we would also lose, as a consequence, the leading span A of the Ichimoku cloud. We would also lose the upper band of the Gaussian channel on the weekly, both of which historically have acted as major sell signals. See scenario 1 over here, see scenario 2 over here, and see scenario 3 over here. So in 3 instances, they have acted as macro monthly sell signals upon the loss on the weekly chart. And therefore, I do not believe it is very likely that even if we do see a correction, the correction will take us as low as 60,000. The lowest theoretical point will be at 60,900. The more likely point, 63,000, if we do see a breakdown of 66.4. However, guys, let's not get too bearish because the charts are exceptionally bullish. Momentum is positive. It has been for a very, very long time. The highs are breaking as the price action continues upwards, which is good to see. And we are establishing new bases of support at these prior high points as the price action continues. I would also like to go ahead and remind you that the weekly candle closes in 3 days' time, and the price action is sitting above the macro descending channel range high, which is an indication that the wick into the channel was nothing more than a liquidity grab before a potential continuation. Now, with all of this being said, it does not take away the risk of short-term corrections here. It does not take away the risk of the fact that Bitcoin could see a move into these short-term areas of support at 67,400, 66,900, and 67,000. The reason being, again, is this is a resistance until proven not. This is a major weekly resistance as we have seen in the charts, and until this level breaks, the upside potential for Bitcoin here in the short term is quite limited. The downside potential is this entire range. The upside potential is what? Maybe 0.4%. So we would not be looking to ape into longs over here at resistance. We are looking to take our profits, or we are looking for lower entries on longs if given. And that is it, guys. That is a short-term price action. We'll check back in another day. Moving over to the market on the Bitcoin dominance chart and the total market cap. As we can see, Bitcoin dominance is literally on a moon mission. It has really had a crazy year, Bitcoin dominance. And if we take a look at these yearly levels of resistance, these yearly lows from the last cycle, we've well and truly broken above these yearly lows now. So it's very unclear how high Bitcoin dominance can theoretically go. We haven't really seen breakouts of these yearly lows before, but we're now kind of in this uncharted territory. It is hard to say where Bitcoin dominance is going to go, so we're not going to try to predict where Bitcoin dominance is going to go, but we're going to talk about the consequences of Bitcoin dominance going upwards. If Bitcoin dominance goes upwards indefinitely until we break this trend line, now breaking this trend line will kind of be the trigger point for when altcoins will start to gain over their Bitcoin counterparts in terms of percentage change. Not in terms of altcoins necessarily going upwards, but it could just mean altcoins are going down less than Bitcoin is going down, based on the fact that money is rotating out of Bitcoin into altcoins. Now, if the total market cap is rising, as we start to see that breakdown occur, then altcoins will gain in value against Bitcoin and, of course, have a greater percentage change against the Bitcoin pairs, meaning alt to Bitcoin charts will start to increase. Now, that is altcoin season. But if we're just talking purely on what is happening over here, if Bitcoin dominance continues to rise upwards over the next few months, as the total market cap continues to rise, it is likely we could get a scenario where we see the market go up, but Bitcoin is still that dominant leader, and altcoins massively still underperform everyone's expectations, except a few select altcoins. And that is pretty likely, as we do have a massive diluted pool of altcoin choices now, with tens of thousands of new coins available, including Pump Fun and all the shit coins that have been pushed by every fraud influencer on Twitter. So there's a lot more places people can put their money this time around in this cycle, as opposed to last cycle and even 2017. I remember 2017, there were like less than 2,000 altcoins. And then last cycle, there were like 10,000. Now, I don't even know how many there is. It's probably 10,000 new altcoins, meme coins created every single day where people are putting money in. And that massively spreads out or dilutes the pool of money that can go into some of these altcoins, which is part and why the reason I believe that we saw such a lackluster first move upwards for altcoins at the start of the year. A lot of it was massively underperformed, and half the reason why we saw such a significant pullback for most of those altcoins as well is because of that very fact that the money is just diluted across so many different places now, which makes it much harder for altcoins as a whole to start to see these continuations, which is another reason why Bitcoin dominance is just flying. And we take a look at the altcoin market cap in just a second over here, we can see the altcoin market cap isn't necessarily looking bad. it isn't necessarily looking bad. In fact, it's looking okay because it did bounce some horizontal support over here. But we really do need to break this daily resistance. This daily resistance, it's diagonal, needs to really break before altcoins can see any sort of move upwards. And even then, the upward move as a consequence of the breakout of this horizontal region isn't actually that significant. We would only really see a move up to around 670 billion max. And then we run into another resistance before then we need to see a breakout for it, even continuation higher. So there's a lot of resistances we're even plotting over here on the chart. There's another one over here that we really need to break upwards, and the key one is going to be 860. The 860 billion is really that point that altcoins need to break to enter a parabolic season, right? So we could theoretically see a cycle go upwards. We could see Bitcoin hit 90,000 before altcoins even reach this region, and then we see that correction back down. We wouldn't even see an altcoin parabolic season. That's possible. I don't know how likely it is, but with the way Bitcoin dominance is going, it is something we have to consider. Anyway, guys, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in. Have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you in the next video on Sunday. See you then.